Hi, and welcome back to Inspired Alchemy with Lizzie. This is episode 31. Today I'm going to talk about something that was inspired by a chain of events and a meme that a friend sent me. So I was watching a podcast earlier that somebody posted about a community that I used to be in. I was young and naive, I was 18 years old, and everybody enjoyed being around me because I was a battery. I was an energetic battery. And at the time, I didn't know what any of that was. I just thought, oh my God, this is cool. They're talking about things that I'm interested in. And I would just kind of geek out and nerd out to it. And I thought I found my people. And it wasn't until I was older that I understood what was really happening. And I'm not going to go into those stories, but it's kind of what fueled today's. And I kind of had to wait until I wasn't as raw and ramped up about it to kind of record this episode. And then I was like, okay, well, I kind of really want to talk about this, but I don't know how to do it. And right afterwards, I was like, because I had asked the universe, hey, how do I talk about this without talking about it? Because it's a very sensitive subject and there's a lot coming out about it right now. And a friend sent me a meme that said, being selective about who gets your energy is self-care. And I thought, I haven't really spoken about my journey, not really, into energy work and what it means for me and how to do it. And I will try to squeeze as much as I can into this episode, but there will probably be episodes that come after this whenever I feel called to kind of add or update the information that I do have. So when I was younger, I just knew that I could put out a lot of energy. And I knew that I could pull in a lot of energy from nature and things like that. I never intentionally pulled from anything living like human beings or animals. That's not something that I did. It was part of the community that I was in, but it didn't feel right to me. And I'm just going to leave that there for what it is at this moment. Because personally, I'm not ready to go into that yet. As I'm trying to unravel everything that is transpiring at the moment. So, for a long time, I kind of cut that part off of myself. Especially when I had my daughter, I kind of cut everything out. I was like, okay, no more this, no more energy work, no more this, no more that. But then when I had her, I knew that that was going to change because she's a super magical human being. And I knew in order for me to give her what she needed, I was going to have to jump back into this work. And I progressively learned more and more. And then I began to alchemize, but I didn't know what I was doing yet. And then, like I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, I opened my first Inspired Alchemy group, which is now the Inspired Alchemy Collective. And since then, I've been trying to put into words how I do the things that I do because I just do them. And it's very hard for me, and I've said this before on other episodes, to explain what I do. So I have to try to reverse engineer. And that can be kind of challenging when you're just like, oh, I just do the things. So I want to be able to try to explain this in the least amount of words possible to kind of fit, like I said, into this timeline, but to also empower you to start standing in your own energy, to start protecting your own energy. And I'm not saying like protecting in terms of I have to do this spell and I have to do this and I have to do that. And it's just intention for the most part. Yes, you can use things like shungite to ground yourself, but this starts off with intention. And true alchemy begins the moment you remember what's yours and you release what's not yours. And I started to kind of, I think I've talked about it before. I kind of started with this whole thing of playing with my intuition and then playing with my energy and realizing what was mine and what was not. And this started probably about 5 years ago that I started to dive really deep into it. Again, I had been in energy work for a really long time, since pretty much since I was a child. And I can tell those stories later on about how I could see things, how I could feel things, all of that. But at this moment, this is more of tips and tricks as people start to pull more energy. So for me, I started playing intuition games with myself. Okay, which way should I drive? And like I said, I've talked about this before, but which way should I drive? What should I eat today? What should I wear today? What's going to be in my best and highest good? All of these different things. So I started playing with that. But this was after I started using discernment and feeling what it felt like to be in my own energy. As energetic beings, we tend to take in everything around us, whether it's other people's energies, whether it is the energy of a specific place, a specific situation, an animal. If you are super connected to animals, we take all of this in. We are like sponges. And discerning what is yours will, and what your energy feels like, will help you along the way in determining what your intuition is telling you properly. What, and realizing that you can discern things easier when you're in your own energy. If not, you might be making decisions based on everybody else and not you. So, especially places, people, I'll go into people, but places, there can be places that you go that you can feel very drained, or you can have an emotional reaction to and not even realize why. It could be that there was a traumatic event there. It could mean that there's just a lot of energy flowing, or it can mean that it's very stagnant in energy, so it feels really weird. But places can pull your energy. For example, and this is the example that keeps popping in my head. When my daughter was about 5 years old, we took her to the Kennedy Space Station. She loved space. She loved all these different things. So we took her there, and there was an exhibit about one of the rockets that exploded. I believe it was the Columbia or something. I can't remember offhand, but it was one of the really bad explosions. And I think I was just a tiny little kid when it happened. But that's neither here nor there. But I didn't even know that exhibit was there. And as we're walking up to it, there was nothing to determine what it was. My daughter hadn't even seen anything yet. And she started crying. And she goes, I can't go over there. I can't go over there. It feels really, really bad. I can't go over there. Okay, baby, you don't have to go over there. That's fine. And then I walked over there and I'm like, oh, this feels really gross. I'm like, why doesn't she want to come over here? And I read, oh, it was the Challenger. I correct myself. So I walk over there and I'm like, oh, okay, this is why. And it wasn't even a specific place that it happened, right? It was the materials that they found that were within that, and the energy that is associated with that whole thing. So you can start to feel things from items that are even in places. Everything carries an energetic signature. People's, places, things, animals, whatever it is. And learning what your energy feels like, learning your baseline, learning your internal voices, and if you have those, maybe some neurotypical people don't have them, but that's what your intuition is, that internal compass. And learning those baselines can help you in determining if you're in your energy or if something is in your space. And also, there are ways that people pull things or pull energy from one another, because we are energetic beings. They are called control dramas. You can look them up. I can also try to share them on the Inspired Alchemy Facebook page. They're the control dramas from the Celestine Prophecy. And it's how we pull energy from one another as energetic beings. But we don't have to play that game. Once you are in your own energy, you realize you don't have to do that anymore, even though it's subconscious. So, ways to determine that you're in your energy is by starting to play these games. You can go into a space, and it's kind of like an experiment I gave a friend. He was going into this space. Normally, he's very drained when he goes into events where there are going to be quite a few people. And so I said, okay, use this as an experiment. Go in there and have fun with it. What does your energy feel like before you go in there? Take a couple deep breaths. What does your energy feel like? Then you can go into this room, and instead of trying to see everything as a huge cluster, you'll be able to feel the energy from each person. Not take it, not anything like that, but from afar, you'll be able to determine these different things. And he was able to have conversations with people. He was able to say, yeah, I think I need to talk to this person, or no, that person's not somebody that I need to talk to, all based on energetic readings. And it was really cool because normally when he leaves these places, like I said, he's very drained. And this time when he left, it was a completely different experience. He talked to some cool people. There were other people where he would have normally talked to, but he didn't feel the need to talk to them or keep up a mask or a facade or anything like that. So when he left, he was fully energized, which is not something that he was used to, which I thought was really cool. And we should all go into energy work, in my opinion, like this. It doesn't have to be this very stringent, hard thing that we do, because it's part of who we are. We are energetic beings, and playing within the energy is how we learn and how we grow. And it's what we use to alchemize. So, staying in your energy helps you stay in alignment, and it helps you discern, and it helps your intuition, and it helps you make sure that you're not projecting your energy onto other people. Ways that you can determine whether or not your energy is being siphoned. So, for me personally, and this happened to me today, all of a sudden I got drained just from one moment to the next. And that is not normal for me. And so that happens only when I'm being drained. And people can drain you from afar without even realizing it. We have cords and contracts with people, and even somebody thinking about you in in general, it could possibly drain you depending on the situation and the person, what have you, right? So I all of a sudden got drained, and I was like, oh man, what the heck? And then I go, wait a second, this is not my normal baseline. This is not normally me to feel like super exhausted and slumped over like this out of nowhere. Okay, what's happening? And as soon as I came to that awareness that it wasn't mine, what I was feeling, I started to get my energy back. I cut whatever that was, that cord, whatever it was, automatically just removed itself. It was like, oh, yeah, that's not mine. I don't want that. So out it goes. And we can continue to do this throughout the day. One of my favorite things that I like to teach people, and something I learned through people who were teaching me, things like that, is recalling energy. You recall your energy. I do this throughout the day, and I especially do it before I go to bed. And if you are, especially if you're around people all the time or you're in service to other people, it's extremely important to recall your energy. All of me come back to me, and I release everything that is not mine. Anything that you have given out intentionally or unintentionally, voluntarily, involuntarily, you bring back to yourself, and then you release what's not yours. Another thing is possibly being irritable or foggy brained, or what, and I'm saying like out of nowhere. Yes, we can have mood swings. Yes, things can happen. But if it feels like it's off when you start to really realize your energy, then more than likely you start asking questions about it. Okay, is this mine? No, it's not. Okay, I release it. I don't want this. And sometimes it will release easily, sometimes it won't. And I think that learning the basics of energy work, I know that people want to dive directly into the cool stuff, but we all have to crawl before we walk for the most part. I know there's some people out there that will start running before they've even walked, but most of the time, slow and steady is how to do this, especially in energy work. Now, as you move further and further into it, yeah, it will become deeper and deeper, and you'll learn more and more, and you'll get quicker at doing the things and processing the energy and determining whether or not it's yours. At the beginning, it might be very slow. You're going to forget to ask yourself these things, but it then becomes second nature. It can be confusing at the beginning, especially for people who are so used to feeling the energy of others. If you are very, very empathic from the beginning, it can be very challenging to even think that there is that separation is possible. So there are also energy overlays that can mimic yours. I learned about this a long time ago, and I've had it happen to me, but it hasn't happened to me in a long time. It normally happens when you start this work. And I'm hoping by sharing this information, anybody who is thinking about getting into this work or thinking about doing shadow work or starting to get into communities where energy is a big thing. And I'm not just talking about in person communities, I'm talking also about online communities where I have been in metaphysical communities where it's a lot of energy pull. And that causes energy spiraling and things like that, which can be dangerous to your body and your nervous system. So, first of all, if you hear clicking, it's because there are storms. My computer screen stopped working and I can't pause it if there's a ton of noise that's happening in the background. So you guys get a little bit more clicking than you would normally just at the end. But that's okay. This is about messy action, right? So we're going to do this. It's going to be fine. So I wanted to relate energy as it is in context to alchemy. Your energy is the fire in the alchemical process. And if your fire is being stolen, siphoned, or misdirected, then your work becomes distorted. And distortion can cause all kinds of issues in itself. But that might be another episode. But quickly, distortion is when, how do I explain this? There are a lot of people in the metaphysical community that are distorted at the moment. They're taking energy from all of these different places and data from all of these different places because they are sponges. And instead of discerning what it means, it's actually getting lost in translation. It's getting distorted, like the game of telephone. And that could be dangerous when you're trying to make important decisions for yourself, for your safety, for your family, for your future, whatever it is, for your sovereignty of being. So we want to make sure that we're in our energy so that it doesn't become distorted. And alchemy requires sovereignty. You must know what is yours to burn. And I know that I mentioned cords and stuff like that before. Cords and contracts are an entire different thing. We have cords and contracts with people, those are energetic cords. And a lot of people will say, oh, you can just remove them. But sometimes they come back. I didn't mean to make that reference, but I did anyways. Again, I know that this was kind of a very quick intro to protecting your energy, making sure that people don't have access to you that are going to drain you, that don't deserve your energy, period. And that you are pretty much doing energetic cleanup, taking care of yourself, making sure that you are not distorted, that you're not projecting onto other people. And the earlier you learn this in the process, the easier things will be for you to continue on in alchemy and in your life and in general. Make sure that, again, you're using discernment when you're getting into spaces, places, with people. And I think that's all I have for you today. I will tell you now that I am done recording this episode that it took quite a few tries. I lost count. And it was either my computer stopped working or somebody called or something happened. And so the clicking that's happening is the least of what would have been an issue with this episode, which means that I do believe I was supposed to put it out. And I hope that this helps. And I am going to put more out in the future in regards to energy and energy hygiene and the energetic practices you can do and things like that. But I didn't want to be too overwhelming. And here comes the storm again, so you can hear the thunder rolling. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for being here with me. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your presence. Time is a precious resource that we cannot get back. So, again, thank you for being here with me and being patient in all of my messy action that I take. I hope this helps. And as always, you are not broken. People will try to tell you that you are, and people will try to bring you down. Don't allow it. You stay in your field. You use your discernment. You use your intuition. Play. Allow yourself to play. Allow yourself to be. Allow yourself to rest. To do whatever it is you need to do to keep moving forward in this magical alchemy path that you're on. And until next time, keep creating alchemy. And thank you for being you. And I'll see you in the next one.